Hey Music World, John here from What's Spinning. Hope everybody's doing well. For a while I was doing ranked discographies. I've still been doing them on and off, but I do really want to get a little bit more structured about it. I'm trying to plan one out for each month this year, or at least two. Usually I like to try and do one of an artist that's coming out with a new record. Like for example, I will be ranking Poppy's discography in a very few short weeks. But for right now, I'm going to rank the discography of a band that I've been meaning to do this for a while now. That would be the classic alternative rock and power pop act Weezer. Now, the reason that I've wanted to do this for a while is because I've had a lot of thoughts on Weezer over the years. They've been, one of my favorite artists, and they've been one of my least favorite artists. And, I know that I'm not in the same boat either. Just looking at their reviews of classic records from them leading up to this video, it's pretty wild to see the wide array of fan and critic reviews on their records. So I'm going to be sticking with their studio albums, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. And as always, keep in mind this is all opinion, folks, so let's just have some fun. Going to kick this list off with number 15, 2009's Ratitude. I mean, I personally cannot believe that this album still exists. And as far as Weezer's fan base goes, I feel like the majority of them have just come to terms with this album is not very good. It usually ends up being, one of the least loved records in Weezer's collection, or at least close to it. This is basically a pop record at the end of the day, with some slight guitars that pop in here and there, but still very much so a pop record. Now, leading up to this album, I thought to myself, at least Weezer is known for basically writing really catchy pop tunes with an alternative rock twist at the end of the day, but this album's a disaster, an absolute disaster. From the overly shiny production to the shockingly cringeworthy lyrics that sprawl a lot of these tracks, I'm shocked. And there is no hope in sight here. At least with records like the Green Album and the Red Album, albums that personally I don't like that much, at least there was a single or two that I can cling on to. This has nothing except for a really god-awful Lil Wayne feature. Coming up next at number 14, I'm going to put 2005's Make Believe. At number 14, I'm going to put 2005's Make Believe. I mean, wow. This is another one that, what hasn't been said about it? I mean, if you would have asked a 15-year-old John from What's Spinning, he actually would have really liked this album. But I don't think I'd even listened to Pinkerton at the time, or any of their earlier records. Because I'm 36 now, and I can't believe that this album was even recorded. This album is almost an entire wash of just lackluster production, lackluster songwriting. It's just such an awkward, half-assed record, and it's a shame because it actually sounds like they actually sat down and thought about this album. It just really didn't pan out with anything interesting. It just sounds like their creative juices at this point were already maxed out. There aren't really even a lot of catchy hooks on here. At number 13, going to put 2017's Pacific Daydream, and I guess I'll start with some, pluses to this record, some not so bad things about this record. I don't think Mexican Fender is that bad at all. And while not a good track at all, I will say that Feels Like Summer does pop into my head from time to time. That's got to count for something. But outside of that, man, this is really rough. Much like Ratitude, this is Weezer's attempt at a pop record. No, it's not good. The production doesn't have an edge in sight, and the songwriting doesn't seem existent at all. And the little songwriting that we do get here is goofy and cringeworthy. It's short, I guess, but it's not sweet at all and completely forgettable. It barely even sounds like a Weezer record. Now, at number 12, I'm going to put 2019's The Black Album. At the time, I thought this album was okay at best, not great, not good, just kind of okay. In retrospect, it's not okay. Especially if you really think about where the band was just a few years later. This album's wild. Especially if you really think about where the band was just a few years earlier. This record is not good at all. It's a completely flavorless Weezer record with no direction in sight. There's nothing really unique about this record, and the sounds that do work on here, I can assure you they did it much better a decade earlier. This just really does sound like Weezer spinning their wheels. It's a really safe record with some incredibly safe songwriting. Is it the biggest sin they've ever committed? No, but it's far from their best. At number 11, I'm going to put 2008's The Red Album. This album's a rough one for me as well. When this record dropped, I was probably at the peak of of my initial Weezer fandom. And at the time, I had no excuses for it. I wasn't feeling it, and that kind of got me off of Weezer stuff for a while. It's just such a tame, wishy-washy record. Now, I will give credit where it's due. I still do really enjoy Pork and Beans, and Troublemaker is pretty fun. But the rest of this album doesn't really have much of a feeling or an emotional edge to it. It's not a fun record. It's not an emotional one either. It just kind of exists. It's the sound of a band that's getting older and doesn't really know what to do with themselves just yet. And for some sick reason, it's literally like their longest record. It's almost an hour long, and no, it's not good. Number 10, I'm going to put one of the band's last records, 2021's Van Weezer. I mean, it is just such an average record. There's nothing about this thing that stands out, for better or for worse. Like, on one hand, I think about it, and I think to myself, there's a lot cringier and creepier and more awkward Weezer recordings than Van Weezer. But also, none of this album really stands out or is exciting. It's, grilled chicken with no seasoning, folks. The End of the Game is a fine single, and the beginning of the end is really decent too. But Hero is cheesy even by Weezer standards. And Blue Dream is one of the worst tracks I've ever heard from them. Yeesh. Now, we're getting into the list where albums get a lot better all of a sudden. And at number 9, I'm going to put 2001's The Green Album. I almost want to put this a little bit lower in the list, but Weezer's put out some stinkers. I think more than anything, this album is just incredibly frustrating for me. I mean, 5 years after recording one of their masterpieces, Pinkerton, all we're getting is 10 tracks, barely 28 minutes. But outside of that, things go from good to pretty ugly on this record pretty quick. The songwriting by this point hadn't reached, just as low as it would go, but, it's certainly getting there. And I'm sorry, friends, but I never want to hear Island in the Sun ever again for as long as I live. Now, I will say there are a handful of serious bright spots on this record, which is why this couldn't have been placed any higher. But as far as, my overall thoughts on the Green Album goes, is it's okay, but Weezer can do better, and they have. At number 8, you might think I'm crazy, but I'm putting the Teal Album. I feel like cover albums are incredibly hard to nail just because, when it comes to covering songs from different artists, the source material is just such a wildly mixed bag. But I will say this, most of the covers on here actually go over pretty well. Their covers of Mr. Blue Sky and Happy Together are honestly really solid. Like, if I was at a Weezer concert and they broke out any of these covers, I'd be pretty happy. And hell, I would rather listen to their cover of No Scrubs than like anything on Pacific Daydream or any of the things on, their albums they were putting out that weren't cover records around this time. Now, some of these covers are also not good. I am looking directly at the cover of Paranoid. It's rough. But at the end of the day, just Weezer sounded like they were having some fun here, so I respect it. At number 7, gonna put 2002's Maladroit. Initially, I was not the biggest fan of this record, and I still think it's pretty far from their best stuff, but like in retrospect, after just how very average, some points of the Green Album were for me, hearing this record here, this almost sounds ballsy. The hooks are solid, the guitar playing is actually really gnarly. It's short, it's concise, and I don't really have a lot of issues with it. Now, at number 6, I am going to put OK Human from 2021, probably the nicest surprise in Weezer's catalog. This is a complete departure from everything in the Weezer playbook. This is very much just a very short, very mellow, but really charming collection of Baroque pop tunes, almost like in the style of the Beatles. And on paper, yeah, that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, but it's actually really tender and done with a lot of care. It's sweet, it's charming, and it's done with such a respect for this sound that I can't really find anything wrong with it. Just know that there's no power pop anthems in sight. If you can get your head around that, you'll probably really enjoy this thing. Now, at number 5, I'm going to put 2010's Hurley. This is an album that still continues to catch me off guard. When this album came out, I was so out on Weezer by this point. Ratitude had come and gone. I was so out on their sound. Hearing this record come along just kind of blew my socks away. It's so weird. It's like somebody clicked a light switch in Weezer's little collective head and just they figured things out really quickly. And yes, it is another bright and fun, carefree set of power pop tunes from Weezer. But man, these ones here, they're special for me. They're a lot more emotional and concise. Not only that, but they're showing more passion than they had in a decade at that point. And like, it's not a wild formula here. It's nothing wildly different. Now, they just seem rejuvenized here, and that doesn't shock me too much because the next few years after this would be incredibly good to Weezer. If you haven't listened to it, give yourself a treat. At number 4, I'm going to put 2014's Everything Will Be Alright in the end. Take everything that I just said about Hurley and turn the volume up just a little bit louder. If Hurley showed you that Weezer still had what made them so great for so many years, Everything Will Be Alright in the end just made it sound even a little bit more polished and fleshed out. It's a grittier album with a lot more throwback alternative rock styles on display here, with even more passion on display. And the hooks on this record, they are gigantic, from the very lovely Bethany Cosentino of Best Coast fame duet Go Away, or the surprisingly crunchy Cleopatra, This is far from just, just another okay Weezer record, or, just about as good as we're going to get from Weezer at this point. No, this is one of their best records. Now, at number 3, I'm going to put 1996's Pinkerton. I get it, don't at me. Not only is it one of the most cherished 90s rock records, for good reason, it's a groundbreaking record for power pop and emo as well, even some early indie. It's emotional, it's personal, even the songwriting compared to the Blue album is a big step up. But I don't want to be that guy, but I feel like somewhere at some point we got into our heads that this is the definitive Weezer record, bar none. And it is an excellent personal journey of a record, but I think they've done just a little bit better. We'll get to it. But still, if you enjoy Pinkerton and you think it's their best work, I totally get it. But personally, 2016's The White Album does even more for me. I'm putting it at number 2. I mean, I'm just gonna say it, this album has absolutely no right being as good as it is. 20 years after their debut, once again, everything clicks here and it's just magical. It's 30 minutes, it's 10 tracks, and it's everything that I've loved about Weezer over the years. I mean, I was praising the hell out of it when it came out, and I've only praised it more ever since. The singles here are like Do You Want to Get High and California Kids and Thank God for Girls. Some of the Weezer's best singles in a decade. Not only that, but the sheer sense of youth and young love and adventure on tracks like King of the World and Good Thing. I mean, this album is just so feel good. If you fell off with Weezer, this is a great point to jump back in, which leads me to my favorite Weezer record. That's right, folks, you guessed it, it's 1994's Blue album. And listen, I get it. Like I said, Pinkerton is a legendary, untouchable record for good reason. The Blue album, man. It is so simple, so incredibly simple and simply great. Consistency-wise, there's nothing better. It's 10 tracks and they are all fantastic. And the thing is, all of them are great for different reasons as well. The hooks are really sticky, the performances are passionate. This just feels like a turning point for alternative rock listening to this. Also, power pop heads, this is required listening. I mean, I hate to say it, but we're probably not getting anything this good from Weezer in the future ever at this point. But let me tell you, sometimes the simplest answers are right in front of you. It's my favorite record of theirs. But let me know what you think down below about their discography. Like I said, I'm going to be ranking Poppy's discography in a very few short weeks. Stay tuned for it, but for right now, if you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe. If you're feeling froggy, turn those notifications on, and have a great day, friends.